Hey, what's going on everybody? Z-Minecraft here, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be bringing you a showcase on the Midnight mod. But real quick, before we get into that, I have a couple of announcements. If you don't care about announcements, then you can go ahead and skip to the time code that is on the screen currently. So, first, thank you guys for subscribing. It is making a difference. We've gotten down to 97% not subscribed, which again is not great, but it is making a difference. So make sure you keep subscribing if you are enjoying the content. Also, I am planning on releasing 2 of my mods that are unfinished, and I've been sitting on for a little bit. And originally I was planning on waiting until they're done, but now I think I'm just going to go ahead and release them as they are so you guys can play them, give me some feedback, report any bugs, etc, etc. So keep an eye out for those in the coming weeks. And I have new outro music made by my good friend Triskelion. Definitely check him out in the description below. Now let's get on to what this mod does. So, the Midnight. It is a very polished and cohesive mod that adds a dimension very reminiscent of the Upside Down from Stranger Things. However, the mod still is a work in progress, so you should report any bugs you find. They are fixed pretty much as soon as they're reported, and keep looking forward to more updates to this mod. There are 3 versions for this mod, 1.12.2, which is no longer receiving support except for any game-breaking bugs that might happen, 1.14.4, and 1.15.2. This video will be showing stuff from the 1.15.2 versions. So how do you get to this dimension? Well, in versions prior to 0.4.6, you find a glowing red rift that will spawn randomly during the night, both above ground and in caves. In version 0.5.3 and above, you will find a rift which is a structure and is locatable with the -locate command. And when it is nighttime, you'll be able to go through the portal and enter the Midnight. You can also use a dark pearl to spawn a rift. Now this video will also be split up into sections, so if you want to go to a specific section, the time code will be on the screen right now, but if you just want to watch the video through, that'll make sense as well. So, there are a couple structures in the mod that you can find using -locate. These are molten craters, shadow root guard towers, and wells. Okay, now let's cover the biomes. So this mod is pretty unique in that it has both surface and underground biomes. The only other mod that I can think of that adds this is the Between Lands, which has a similar system, and I can cover that as well if you guys want me to, so let me know in the comments down below. So there are a few standards that most biomes will have. Standard creature spawns are night stags, standard monster spawns are rifters and endermen, and standard structures are molten craters, shadow guard towers, and wells. There are some global ores that spawn in every biome, and these are the dark pearl ore, tenebrum, nagrelite, and ebonite. Everything that I just mentioned will be covered in their respective sections. So the first biome we have is the Deceitful Bog. This is a low, dark biome covered in deceitful peat and deceitful mud. You can find many plants here as well as bog shrooms, night shrooms, dew shrooms, shadow root, dark willows, and dead wood. Deceitful snappers spawn in the water, and bulb anglers will spawn there as of version 0.6.0 and above. Next up is the Vigilant Forest, which is a dim, foggy forest biome covered in midnight dirt and grass. Here you can find shadow root, dark willow, and dead trees. You can also find lots of flowers and a new block called Suavis, which will be covered in the block section. In addition to the standard monster and creature spawns, you can also find the Skulk in this biome. And there's also a hilly Vigilant Forest biome, which is just the same biome but has more hills. Next up is the Fungi Forest, which is a grassy forest completely covered in all sizes of night shrooms, dew shrooms, and verid shrooms. You can also find a lot of flowers and grasses here, as well as molten craters. In addition to the standard spawns, you can once again find skulks in this biome. And similar to the Vigilant Forest, this biome also has a hilly variant. Next up we have the Obscured Peaks, which is a rocky mountainous biome made up of nightstone with trenchstone boulders around the area. The Hunter can also spawn here. Going right along, we have the Obscured Plateau, which is basically a flattened version of the Obscured Peaks with all the same features. Now this next biome, the Phantasmal Valley, is more of a biome separator than a whole biome in and of itself. This is a valley that separates the Obscured Plateau from another biome. If it cuts through an obscured plateau, it will likely have rivers, and if it's bordering biomes, it will likely be dry. You can find midnight grass along the banks of the river, and along with the standard spawns, you can have the hunter. Next up, the Black Ridge, which is basically the inverse of the Phantasmal Valley, and that is a ridge that separates biomes. Here you can find trenchstone boulders and hunters in addition to the standard spawns. Next up, we have the Warped Fields, which is a cross between the Night Plains and the Obscured Peaks. These are grassy plains with extreme height variation and pools of dark water at the bottom. There are lots of flowers and grass here, and you can also find the hunter as well. Next up, we have the Night Plains, which are a grassy plains biome with fingered grass, shadowroot, and dead trees, molten craters, and wells. You can also find spikes and boulders of nightstone. The hunter also spawns here. Next up, we have the Crystal Spires, which is a small grassy biome with shadowroot, deadwood, and dark willow, although its most prominent features are the bloom crystal spires. Night stags and crystal bugs can spawn here. Lastly, for the above ground biomes, we have the Runebush Grove, which is a very rare biome with shadowroot, deadwood, and dark willow trees, and the ground is absolutely covered in runebush. There's also a lot of Suavis here. In addition to the standard spawns, you can once again find skulks. Now let's get on to the underground biomes. The standard features for this are Crystal Lotus and Stinger Eggs. The standard mobs are Stingers and Endermen. You can also occasionally find rivers or pools of miasma, miasma being basically the lava of this dimension. So the first biome is the Closed Cavern, which is basically a sealed hole underground. Next up are the Great Caverns, which are huge open caverns that comprise a lot of the underground biome. Continuing along, we have the Crystal Cavern, which are caverns with rue crystal clusters and tendril reed, and the Nova mob can spawn here. And finally, we have the Fungal Cavern. In the Fungal Cavern, the ground is covered in mycelium, and you can find lots of glob fungus. Alright, now let's get on to the block section. So we're going to start with the trees, and first off we have Shadowroot, of which there is a log, stripped log, wood, stripped wood, and planks, and this wood can be turned into ladders, fences, fence gates, trapdoors, doors, crafting tables, slabs, buttons, pressure plates, and even chests. And there's of course a sapling, so you can grow your own. And so, as you can tell, there's a lot of cool custom blocks that will make for some really nice decoration here. Moving right along to the Dark Willow, which also has logs, stripped logs, wood, stripped wood, and planks, and has all the same craftable items as the Shadowroot. Lastly, for the trees, we have Deadwood, which has all the same wood variants as the previous two, as well as the craftable items. However, since the tree is dead, it of course has no saplings. Next up, we have the Fungi, which behave similar to trees. All of these have both regular and tall plant versions of them that you can find and grow. So first off, we have the Dewshroom, which has a stem, cap, and planks, and can be crafted into stairs, slabs, crafting tables, doors, trapdoors, fences, fence gates, ladders, buttons, pressure plates, chests, and sporches, which are basically torches but dimmer. Next up, we have the Veritshroom, which also has a stem, cap, and planks, and can be crafted into the same items as the Dewshroom. Next up, we have the Nightshroom, which has the exact same items as the two before it, except they just basically look different, because they are night instead of dew or Verithrooms. Now we're going to go to the Bogshroom, which, once again, same stuff as before it, although this time they're orange. And finally, the Glob Fungus, which is found in the underground fungal cavern. This has a plant, cap, stem, stalk, and thatch. Now let's cover the stone. So first off, we have Nightstone, which is basically the stone of the dimension. This can be crafted into bricks, chiseled bricks, slabs, brick slabs, stairs, brick stairs, walls, brick walls, buttons, and pressure plates. Next, we have Trenchstone, which you can find boulders of this stuff in certain biomes, and it can be crafted into bricks, stairs, brick stairs, slabs, brick slabs, walls, brick walls, buttons, and pressure plates. Next up, we have Rockshroom, which is also found in boulders and can be crafted into bricks, stairs, slabs, walls, buttons, and pressure plates. Now we have the crystals, of which there are the Rue Rock and the Bloom Crystal. Now we're going to cover the ores that this mod adds. So first off, we have the Dark Pearl Ore. This can be made into a Dark Pearl block, and all of their drops will be covered in the item section. Next up, we have Tenebrum Ore, which can make Tenebrum blocks, doors, trapdoors, and pressure plates. Next is Nagrolite, which can make a Nagrolite block and a pressure plate. Then we have Ebonite ore, which can make an Ebonite block. And finally, we have Archaic ore, which can make Archaic glass and glass panes. Now let's go on to the dirts, which are in basically every single biome of the dimension, save for a few. These are the Midnight Grass, Midnight Mycelium, Midnight Dirt, Midnight Coarse Dirt, Deceitful Peat, and Deceitful Mud. Now we're going to finally cover the miscellaneous blocks. So first off, we have the Malignant Plant block, which has many different color variants and is found at rift locations. Then we have the Glowing Malignant Plant block, which is basically the same thing as the Malignant Plant block, except it looks pretty different. And then we have Suavis, which, disclaimer, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but when you break it, it will give you nausea and drop some Suavis slices. And this nausea can be cured by walking through a Violleaf plant. Finally, we have the Miasma block, which is the Midnight's version of a magma block. For the sake of time, all plant or crop-like blocks will be omitted. I highly recommend downloading this mod anyways, so you can see what they are for yourself when you download the mod. Okay, now we're moving on to the items section. So first, we're going to cover items that you get from blocks. So, a geode. This is obtained from mining a dark pearl ore. If you throw it like a projectile against any hard block, it will shatter and give a dark pearl. Note that this method may be changed in future updates, and by the time you're watching this, it may have already been changed. So what does the dark pearl do? Well, first it can be crafted into a block, and if you right click with it, it will spawn a rift. Next is the Tenebrum ingot, which is obtained by smelting Tenebrum ore. It can be crafted into the blocks mentioned in the block section, as well as a pickaxe, sword, axe, shovel, hoe, helmet, chestplate, leggings, boots, and nuggets. Next up is the Nagrolite ingot, which is obtained by smelting Nagrolite ore, and once again can be crafted into the blocks mentioned earlier, as well as a pickaxe, axe, sword, shovel, hoe, and nuggets. Next is Ebonite, which can be crafted into a block, as well as into a pickaxe, axe, sword, shovel, and hoe. Next we have the Rock Shroom Clump, which is obtained from breaking rock shroom, and can be crafted into a shield, helmet, chestplate, leggings, boots, shears, and a bucket. Then we have Archaic Shards, which is obtained from breaking archaic ore, and as previously mentioned, can be crafted into glass and glass panes. Then we have the Raw Suavis Slice, which is obtained by breaking Suavis, and you can eat it. If you eat it raw, you'll get nausea, or you can also cook it for more food bars. Then we have the Douchroom Powder, which is obtained by crafting the Douchroom Cap, roots, Douchroom, tall Douchroom shelf, or flowering Douchroom roots in a crafting table. And this powder can be crafted into a Douchroom Sports or a Douchroom Spore Bomb. Then we have Viratroom Powder, which is obtained and crafted into the same things as above, and this also holds true for the Nightshroom and Bogshroom powders. Next up we have a Dark Stick, which is obtained by putting any 2 pieces of Midnight planks into a crafting table, and this is used for crafting the Midnight variant of everything sticks are used for normally. Alright, now let's get on to the other items. So first off we have the Deceitful Snapper, which is dropped from, you guess it, killing a Deceitful Snapper. It is edible, although it is a chance to bite back at you when you try to eat it, which gives you slowness 4. Next up we have the Raw Stag Flank, which drops from killing night stags. It is edible and can be cooked. Next up is the Hunter Wing, which is dropped from killing hunters. It's edible, can be cooked. Then we have the Glob Fungus Hand, which you get from glob fungus, and it's edible. Next up we have the Cooked Stinger Egg, which is a cooked stinger egg, and this is potable as it is a soup, so you drink it like you would a potion. Next up we have Unstable Seeds. When these are fully grown, you can get unstable fruit, which aren't edible, but also poisonous. Then we have Blade Shroom Spores, which when fully grown can get blade shrooms from, and these guys are basically shurikens, which is pretty cool. And finally for the items we have Spore Bombs, which after some time will explode into particles that leave potion effects. So Douchroom will give you stun and slowness, Nightshroom will give you darkness, Viratroom will give you tormented, and Bogshroom will give you confusion. So these are pretty nasty. Alright, we're going to get on to the last section, which are the mobs. So first off we have the Rifter. This guy has 20 HP and deals half-hearted damage when it hits you. It will gain a small stat boost if it is actually in the Midnight Dimension. And when it hits you, it will stun you to the ground and try to drag you into a rift. Next up is the Hunter, which is a work-in-progress flying entity that will dive bomb you like a phantom, and it will give you the tormented effect if it hits you. It has 10 HP and deals 1.5 hearts of damage. Next up is the Nova, which is a floating crystal entity, that shoots spikes out of its body. It spawns in the crystal caverns. It has 16 hearts of health and does 2 hearts of damage. Next is the Stinger, which is a small scorpion entity. These Stinger eggs will spawn underground, and if you jump on one, it will spawn the Stinger itself. The eggs, like mentioned before, can be smelted into cooked Stinger eggs. These guys have 10 HP and deal only a heart of damage, but they're pretty hard to hit because they're so small. Next up is the Crystal Bug, which is just a small butterfly-like passive entity that spawns in the Crystal Spires. Next is the Night Stag, which is a passive deer-like creature, although it will become aggressive if you try to attack it. If you feed it an unstable fruit, it will take off into the air with levitation for a short while, traveling in a straight line. These guys can be bred with unstable fruit, and if you feed unstable fruit to a baby, it will grow faster. And they can also randomly bow down to you, which is pretty cool. Next up is the Deceitful Snapper, which is a fish that spawns in the midnight. It can be bucketed, killed, cooked, and eaten. And this guy will attack you if you try to go near it. Next is the Bulb Angler, that is an anglerfish, and it is currently unused but will be re-implemented in a future update. And finally we have the Skulk, which is a small squirrel-like entity. It can be tamed with shrooms. It will go practically invisible into its stealth mode if you're not looking at it, and this thing hates Suavis. Alright everybody, that is pretty much going to wrap up this mod showcase. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like down below, because these videos take a lot of work to set up for and record and edit. So make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed. Also share this video with your friends if you think they'll enjoy it as well. Make sure to subscribe with notifications on. You can of course download the mod in the link down below, which I highly recommend as it is very fun to mess around with. Make sure to also check out Troy's Skelly in the description below as I mentioned earlier. And we'll see you all next time everybody. Peace out.